Today is episode number four. Number four. We have a good show today because we are talking about Franklin Classical School. Franklin Classical School. And I know many of you are going to think, is that a fancy school? What is this? What is this? I'm a class of 2014. Been in that class from 4 years. Loved every minute of it. But I also have two alumni from that school. Guys, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, we both were from the same graduating class. I guess I'll go first because I don't know. I think that was the order we were in when we do presentations anyway. But this guy and I actually did a 40-hour project together. We might talk about a little bit later. And he's the one that had all the disasters happen to him. But yeah, we're from the graduating class of 2008. And we've been thoroughly ruined, and we're here to talk about FCS.
Yeah, so I'm Drew. I'm this class of '08 with Daniel, but I go back with FCS a long way. My family's been involved in that school for about 20, 25 years now. And so, like, my first memories were sitting underneath the table listening to Dr. Grant while he was jumping on tables and hollering at students, and I think I was in like fourth grade at that point. So I wasn't attending at fourth grade. I didn't get to actually start till sixth grade, but I went from sixth all the way up through graduation. I think I was part of the first class that was able to go from six all the way through.
So, viewers, Franklin Classical School was created by a well-educated, I can't say enough good things about this man. He's my mentor, and I strive just to be like him in so many ways. Dr. George Grant.
Inevitably, cultures are an expression of the values of a people. The values are drawn out of traditions and rituals and habits and language, and all of those are inevitably tied to the things that matter most to the people. Inevitably, therefore, a culture is the legacy of faith. You can't get around that at all, and cultures that attempt to get around that are really just cultures in transition from one faith to another. So in the end, culture is a manifestation of faith. G.K. Chesterton has said, a culture is the accumulation of rituals, symbols, traditions, and habits, those things which grow out of a people's perception of what matters most. In other words, a culture is a legacy of faith.
Grant. He is bigger than life. He's just an amazing individual. Dr. Grant, if you see this, we thank you. You ruined us.
Absolutely.
You ruined us completely, but in a good way, because now we can understand the world for what it is, the worldviews, the philosophy, pretty much everything. So, Dr. Grant, we thank you so much. We thank you. So, guys, this is a episode just to talk about Franklin Classical School, our memories from that school, as well as why do we think that the world, especially modernity, needs to have classical education. I think it does, but let's get into this, guys. Uh, can you tell my viewers a little bit about y'all's experience from 2008 and what y'all have just gained from FCS?
Yeah, you want me to go, Drew? You got something to start with? Yeah, all right, cool. So to start this off, let me see how much you still got it. Okay, I'm gonna say something, and as a FCS grad, you should be able to come back with it pretty quick. If not, Drew, I'm gonna have you hop in and help him out. All right, here's your opportunity. Culture is.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. Hey, viewers, it's been a while for me. I'll admit, and I do have some of my notes from my storage unit still buried with a lot of great stuff. But Drew, can you help me out on that?
No, I can't. Worldview externalized.
All right, let let me give you a little more. Culture is religion.
Religion externalized. I was
Yeah,
close.
there.
Oh, yes.
Worldviews.
Uh, worldview is,
No, worldviews. It's plural. Starts with
oh,
an
oh
N.
Lord.
They matter.
There you go.
Oh yeah,
Worldviews.
worldviews matter. Worldviews matter. Again,
Yeah.
viewers, I do have an excuse for it, but I do have the notes. I do have the notes.
All right, that's enough of me showing off there. But I do start off with those two things. The reason I called that an opportunity is at FCS we don't have tests. We have opportunities to show what we know and what we
They're
remember. In
tests,
some
though.
cases, they are tests, but don't call them that or you get in trouble.
We're not going Montessori here.
Right, but and it is true. A test is, by another definition, an opportunity to show what you know. We had opportunity to show what we know for about 25 pages my freshman year for our midterm, but
Yeah.
so I lead off with that just to kind of put in like the big overarching start from the end and work our way up if we want to. The reason classical education is important is because culture is religion externalized and worldviews matter. And if I can throw another ID in there and just pat myself on the back a little bit more with epistemological self consciousness, all of this mumbo jumbo to someone who might not remember what it all means or might not have heard it for the first time is there's a lot more to life than just navigating the normal stuff that is kind of put before us as what life is. So you can go through life, you can get a career, you can attend a church or not, you can get married or not, you can do all sorts of things, get a degree or not, yada, yada, yada. There's a very normal track that life looks like to most people in America. But even within that, what that looks like is going to vary wildly depending on what you believe and why you believe it. If you're someone that's just kind of believes whatever an authority figure tells them is the truth, if you don't really examine it too much, you're probably going to go the exact same way as the rest of the people in that camp. Whatever the party line is, whatever it is that you're supposed to believe, whatever it is that you're supposed to do, whatever it is you're supposed to think, that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to believe, and that's what you're going to think. And that's not really a life truly lived. That's a mold followed, that's an archetype conformed to. And one of the many slogans of FCS is simply one word, which is ruined. And the idea is if you learn how to think and how to think for yourself, which is something that is encouraged at FCS, you don't necessarily have to toe the party line with everything that's presented to you there, even though there is a very cohesive worldview that's presented. If you're able to think for yourself, if you're able to use discernment and not just simply ingest and digest whatever is put before you, the way your life looks is going to be very, very different from the people around you. If you've got good discernment, if you think for yourself well, it's going to look different in a way that will be, I'll go so far as to say, is probably more pleasing to God. And if you think for yourself and use discernment in a bad way, which I would say, to put that simply, would be to be a rebel or a contrarian just for the sake of it, your life's probably going to look a bit like a disaster in a way that's not pleasing to God, and you probably would have been better off just following the normal line. So the question that classical education, especially as it's presented in FCS, what that's for is to give you the opportunity to choose for yourself whether you will follow the commandments of Micah 6:8, which is to love justice, to do mercy, and to walk humbly with God, or whether you'll just let yourself be swept along by the current and kind of stumble along until you get to the end and hope it all works out when you get there. And what classical education can allow you to do is, when you think for yourself, to think for yourself well. When you use discernment, to use good discernment that's grounded in the principles that the creator of logic in the first place has given us, to live a life that's not just different, but different in a healthy and positive way.
See, viewers, there's a lot to go with education. And education for me, I came actually from a public school background. So I was always taught just to regurgitate a lot of what I just was taught and didn't really talk about the certain subjects and think what I needed to think. They just wanted everybody just to study it, regurgitate it on the test, and you pass, you're done with it, you're good. That I didn't see myself building up myself. I really didn't. But coming into FCS, I I wanted to learn. I wanted to think more, view more of the philosophical sides of like all these different ideas because there are so many ideas: communism, socialism, capitalism, all these different things. And why do people believe or ascribe to those certain philosophies? That was something that was very big for me. And I will put it out. Yes, I do subscribe to, or do subscribe to one sort of political ideology, but I'm more than comfortable with just talking with folks. I mean, several episodes or 2 episodes ago, I was able to talk to somebody that didn't have a political ideology like myself. But then I said, you know what? Let's just talk, see if we can find a middle ground. Nowadays, I just feel like kids don't have that. They just come into school, they sit there for hours, either on their phones or just doing whatever, and they finish a test, they're done for the day or the week, and that's it. You can talk to them right now and ask them, what are the dangers or what are the ideas or tenets of communism? They're going to be like, I don't know. I don't know. Who cares? And it's like, it matters so that way you can learn, you can get through those ideas. So I thank you so much, Danny, for actually telling like it is. You can tell it like it is. Drew, what say you?
So I want to really focus in here on one concept that Daniel pointed out and just kind of rolled over, which is epistemological self-consciousness. So what is epistemology? You know, that's one of those big gnarly words. It's just how we know what we know. So epistemological self-consciousness is all about being cognizant of how you come to determinations of what is and is not true. That is radically relevant to today. It's the kind of thing that when Dr. Grant was on stage storming about it, I didn't understand. But today we live in a world that we are not prepared for. Like even just genetically, we were not made for the world that we live in. So kind of simplest example, the most direct is all of the AI stuff that is going on and coming out right now. I've been working on, I guess, a loose metaphor where you stand in front of a table and there are these three guys at the table and they've got a picture in the middle of the table. And each one of them tells you a different story about what that picture is. So maybe it's a set of burned out ruins, and one guy tells you some sob story about what's going on in Ukraine. Another guy tells you a sob story about what's going on in Tehran. Another guy tells you a sob story about what's going on in Gaza. I'm not by any means trying to be dismissive. I'm just trying to make a point here. All of them are pointing at the same set of ruins, and they're all telling you equally convincing stories. And you have to figure out, it is your job all day, every day, to determine which one of those three guys is telling you the truth. And with any one picture, maybe you could do that. You said, well, look at the architecture in this, that they don't use that particular arch in this region of the world. That's clearly out of, Western Russia. So this is a Ukraine picture, but there are all these other details, right? So maybe at that one table, you could come to a correct conclusion if you happened to have uh, the necessary knowledge for this one particular thing. But the greater problem is that you're not sitting at one table. Every day you're stepping into a new room that is filled with thousands of tables, with thousands of people. They're all telling you different stories. Some of them are motivated for good, some of them for ill, some of them are just trying to get through the day, Um, there's a podcaster that I really like to listen to named Brett Weinstein, who describes this as the Cartesian crisis, in which he's simply pointed by Cartesian crisis, he's pointing at Descartes, Rene Descartes, I think, therefore I am, one of the classic Enlightenment philosophers. And he is pointing at this inability, this increasing inability of people to determine what is and is not true, what's actually happening in the world. And one of the many ways in which classical education equips you for this is by actually placing you in a story. We experience life in this moment to moment, day by day system where things kind of just happen. And we see news stories and say, well, where did that come from? Yeah, unfortunately, I had a great example come up today, and it's going to completely slipped my mind what it was. Had something to do with Munster, Germany, and a particular Reformation, almost revolution that happened there. What was that?
You're talking about the siege of Munster?
Yes, I am. But exactly why that ties in, I cannot recall. And there goes my train of thought. But one of the ways in which classical education prepares you for this world is by placing you in a story. You have to go all the way back to the beginning, as far as the historical written record, going back to Babylon and working your way up all the way through antiquity and all the way through Christendom and into modernity and American history, and seeing that, wait a second, there's actually a story that has taken us from one place all the way up to where we are today. And that story informs our decisions for what we need to do today. If you don't know that story, you're completely shooting in the dark. Yeah, if I open up the Lord of the Rings and I just turn to a random chapter and I say, okay, should Frodo turn left or turn right here? If you don't know who Frodo is, you don't know what the ring is he in Rivendell? Is it in Moria? Yeah. If you don't have the context of what's happening in the world, you are not equipped to make proper decisions for what to do today and tomorrow.
Yeah. The way that FCS does it is that every year for high school, it goes antiquity, Christendom, American history, and modernity. That's how we study history. And we study a lot of it. Good Lord. I will tell you guys, I'm a history buff. Antiquity and Christendom were the hardest subjects that I ever had to encounter. American history, I can tell it all day. I can talk about it, everything. Modernity, same thing. But it was super enlightening to hear Dr. Grant talk about these things because he had so much knowledge. He had so much knowledge. Um, and he showed us how to think, like, showed us how to take what is going on in this world and think, what do we need to do for ourselves? Like, how do we get to the truth here? There's so much out there. You gotta see which one is the truth here. You gotta see which one is the truth, and truth is most important in this world. So thank you guys for clarifying and just giving my viewers just a little taste of FCS. Um, what has y'all's experience been for FCS? Was it uh, was it great? Was it impactful for you specifically, or just can you give me some examples?
Yeah, Drew, you want to take this one
Yeah,
first?
I'll shoot first on this one. Excuse me. Um, I'll try and be somewhat more brief. FCS is one of those classic things where I didn't know what I was getting until today. Yeah, I graduated 18 years ago. And yeah, like there's as much time between me and graduating as there was between me and being born and graduating. Um, and I am continually discovering the depth of what I was given at FCS. Um, but yeah, at the time, like I was in school. I was in high school. I was worried about whether or not various people liked me and what grade I got on the test. Like I was 14. I was not having a great time. You know, um, but what I have come to miss the most of FCS was the community. Um, I knew that I was growing up in a tight knit community. What I did not understand was how incredibly and increasingly rare that was. It's been something that's been, yeah, I have completely failed thus far to replicate, and I'm continually working to try and rebuild some taste of that. Um, but the closeness that you have because the classes are kept small, because the school as a whole is small, you have close relationships with, yeah, to varying degrees, with everyone in your class and with folks who are older than you, folks who are younger than you. You know your teachers by name. Um, and so like a lot of the closest, all of the closest relationships I've had in my life have come out of FCS, especially those which have continued through to today. Like with Daniel, he and I have another best friend, James Churchill. Cameron Carruthers was an excellent friend of ours. Uh, you know, I was the best man of a guy named Leo Mocha just this past summer, who he left FCS around sophomore year, but I knew him from all the way back then, um, and I don't think that's something that you get anywhere else.
Well, Daniel,
Yeah,
you wanna take it away?
yeah, most definitely. And I've got a pretty easy segue from that because Drew and I were so close in high school, still are. I consider him, if any of my other best friends are listening to this, like, don't get it twisted. You might also be, but he's my
Nah,
best.
I'm the favorite. I've been the favorite for a long time. I'm favorite.
And he mentioned James Churchill. That guy is actually my actual brother-in-law now. And I remember, periodically I'll try to go through. We had a massive class for FCS. I think there were 25 or so of us in our graduating class, which that'll tell you about when Drew says the classes are kept small. He means it. 25 is a huge class for FCS, and I think there were like a few exceptions that made it like that. But I still remember most, if not all, of the people I went to high school with in my class. Remember a good number of the guys, a year or two up and down from our class. And I can definitely, I would say I maybe had a bit more of an idea of how extraordinary the experience was in terms of how fortunate I was to be having it. I had an excellent time in high school. Almost nothing but good memory is one of the best times of my life, and that in and of itself is very uncommon. But same as Drew, I had no concept of how vanishingly rare anything approaching that was. I thought, maybe I was just kind of getting the best version of something that was kind of out there. And the older I've gotten and the wider my experiences have been, I've traveled the world, lived in Kenya for a time. I'm soon going to be going to China. I've been all over Europe, both before and after FCS, uh, and just met tons of people from all different walks of life within the U.S. And if I were to say that it's completely unique, maybe the only thing that comes close to the experience is people I've met that were homeschooled and had some
Mhm.
co-op. And even then, that's rarely as distilled as what we experienced at FCS. We seem to kind of be blowing past the actual classical education part of it,
Right.
and I don't want to undersell that. We were taught formal logic. We all had to learn Latin. The We went through the theater program there. We would put on things from Shakespeare to Aristophanes. It was very rigorous. I might have mentioned we had a 25-page midterm one year, and the fact that all of that stuff just sort of goes into the background in my mind should really drive the point home that yes, it's academically rigorous. Yes, it's going to equip you to speak publicly without fear. If you ingest everything and digest everything that FCS is trying to teach, fear of public speaking and fear of death, the two biggest fears, off the table for you. Now you can pick, like, drowning in quicksand or something.
Spiders or something.
Yeah. And it's as far as that goes. You can get academic rigor, you can get classical education other places. The thing that really sticks out, and I've found, like I said, maybe certain homeschool people scattered around here and there, is the absolute sense of community. And I suppose the academic rigor has something to do with that. A lot of close bonds might be forged in the fires of war. When you're having to learn classical Latin at the age of 14, 15, that can be a bond
Trauma
for
bonding.
well, yeah. uh, but it's incredibly worthwhile. I don't remember much of my Latin. I'm sure that's probably a very common thing. But what I always remember is the relationships I had there, and the quality of life that you would experience going through FCS. And when I say quality of life, I don't mean in terms of high quality, low quality. I mean, it really was kind of like going through Hogwarts. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
it was a completely different experience. Of really, you come into school on Tuesday morning, starting off your week, because Monday was a study day. There might be some classes, but generally speaking, our week would start on Tuesday with a lecture from Dr. Grant, who uh, myself, and I would absolutely nobody understood the blessing that we had to be instructed by him in such
Yeah.
a direct and personal way.
Yeah.
He's just got a pocket full of PhDs. He's knows half the people that are worth knowing in the highest positions of power. And to us, he was, we might have had some idea that he was some sort of big deal, but really to us, he was, I wouldn't say one to one like a Dumbledore figure, but like a Dumbledore figure. It
Is
was,
very goofy and also like very remote. The remoteness coming from his intellectual prowess, you know, very much someone worth looking up to.
yeah, absolutely. You know what? I'm so glad you said that. Someone worth looking up to is something that we had no shortage of in our Franklin Classical experience. To the point that it was very jarring to me when I got out of there and realized that most adults don't know what they're doing at all, and for the most part don't really care, or are desperately trying to keep up appearances that they do so they're not found out by all of the other adults who also don't know what they're doing. Not to say
Mhm.
that I know what I'm
I
doing.
mean, I'm
My life
guilty.
yeah, uh, it's been an amazing journey but a very strange one, and really in some ways I never quite left Hogwarts, but the time that we had in FCS, classical education, the academic rigor, the camaraderie through sports, theater, those sorts of things, that was all there, but we really were all very close with each other. Even the people that you might not have been particularly close
Fond
with,
of, yeah.
or fond of. Yeah, it wasn't a magical Pollyanna land where everyone got along and liked each other all the time, but
Yeah, it wasn't, but at the same time, like
it kind
bullying almost doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Like it
That's a
happens, but it just almost doesn't exist. Even the folks who you're not like you don't prefer, you still have like at least cordial relationships with. And yeah, as an adult, that's not that remarkable of a statement. But at 12,
right.
Yeah.
And I could say another thing. The first year or the first week of school, we would literally all go out to what's called Kings Mountain Camp, and instead of having weird orientations with normal icebreakers or just starting school, I don't really know what other schools do. We would literally go to a quasi remote location. When you're a kid, it felt remote. It was a summer camp essentially, and you'd be in teams and you'd do skits and you'd get to meet people before the school year would even start, that were grouped together by the seniors, with us, with an idea of having people that wouldn't necessarily naturally coalesce into groups, starting off the year getting to know each other in that camp setting, and that's just another one of the many things that came into creating that bizarrely unique ecosystem. And there were people that felt more left out. It wasn't an amazing experience for everyone. Not everyone was able to kind of get with the very bizarre program, whether it be because they just weren't interested or because their parents didn't understand what they were signing up for and wanted it to just be a normal prep school. Not everyone had as universally great an experience as
yeah,
I did, but uh, generally speaking, by senior year, everyone who was still there had somewhat of that
signed
experience.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, knew at least a little bit what it was that we were signing up for, and had that trauma bonding of learning Latin and going through all of those things together, just being weird. and just understanding even, the friends that we had outside of school. Eventually you kind of stop telling stories about what happens inside FCS because they can't relate to it at all. It was so
Right.
different. Have every year you have to do something called a 40-hour project, which is what it says on the tin. It's some sort of project that you have to pitch and get approved for at least 40 hours that you have to log. And like one year I just wrote an epic poem or whatever. But then one year, me and this guy and another friend of ours in during American history built a raft and floated down the river for a few days like Huck Finn. I may or may not have participated that efficaciously in the building of the raft,
Not,
but I
not.
sure enjoyed.
He was not. He sure did float, though.
I sure did float. And there were many experiences like that. Some people would build a wigwam and go live out in the woods for a couple days, and to us,
With or
it
without
kind of
clothing.
there was plenty of mud. It was still PG-13, but we would kind of see those as like, we beat the system. We found a way to log 40
Right.
hours,
Yeah,
just
yeah, for sure.
in hindsight, it's like that kind
That
of,
was the
those
point.
kind of were the points. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. And by the way, like, let me point out a couple of things. First of all, Kings Mountain Camp, like, it really was planned out by the seniors that year. And it was established for every year before that. Like, y'all better get your acts together because in a few years, you're going to be the ones in charge, right? But then that Kings Mountain Camp happened at a place with a lake. And after we built that raft, it sat at my
Yeah.
house for like a year as I'm, well, what the heck are we going to do with this? We took it down to Kings Mountain Camp at the lake for my senior year, which by the way, this is the 2008 Kings Mountain Camp shirt. Uh, and we had that pontoon raft out on that lake that year. I came back like 3 years later, just on a lark. Let me go down and see what's going on at FCS summer camp. And that raft is still out there, and folks were still playing on it.
Yeah, and that kind of gets into really a easy way to sum up everything we've been talking about, which is another FCS cliche is to be rooted. The idea is not just to be rooted in the classics. We all study the Odyssey and what you would expect when you hear of the classics. We went through that too. Also rooted in the great reformers, the church fathers. We would learn about that. And, we would always be talking about standing on the shoulders of giants. And that story that Drew just told about our 40-hour project from junior year still being part of the camp experience years later is emblematic of, I would say the real advantage in FCS is that they don't just teach the stuff that's important to learn. They also give you an opportunity to put it into practice, even if you don't even necessarily realize that's what you're doing at the time. In doing that 40-hour project and bringing that raft down to Kings Mountain Camp where the lifeguard could be yelling, "Stop doing the Charleston on the raft." Years after the fact, we were participating, we were stepping into that stream of building that rootedness that we learned about, that, travels all the way out from Eden and through the great men and women of the past that we learn about, and even just ever so briefly is becoming a tradition, an accidental tradition of classes that would come after us. It's not the only time, but it's a very good example of being able to participate in that rootedness as we participated in in being ruined, as we participated in growing in epistemological self-consciousness, as we participate in the elements of being different that FCS is teaching, so that by the time we get out, it's not such a jarring leap from learning about stuff to doing stuff we've been doing all along, whether we realized it or not.
Of course. Of course. Viewers, class of 2014, magical time for me. From 2010 until 2014, did everything, 40-hour projects. We had a bunch of essays that we had to do, as well as our senior oral theses. Lord have mercy. I can't tell you. I started off late junior year thinking about what I wanted to do. We knew what the subject was going to be. I think it was Christendom that we ended for 2014. And it took me from late junior year all the way until April or May of senior year to just get everything that I needed. And if I remember correctly, mine was about the Reformation, about Martin Luther and all Jan Hus and everybody else, their impact for the church, and especially the corruption that went on with the Catholic Church, with the indulgences. And I was surprised. To this day, in Mexico and other parts of the world, indulgences is still the norm. You can buy your forgiveness. You can do everything that you can just to get into heaven or purgatory, whatever.
Hey, you're telling me stuff there. I thought they got rid of that. They said they got rid of
that. they said, but I mean, it was just an eye-opening experience, and especially at that time, I was super nervous about speaking in front of like hundreds of people, and I know that we did it at Dr. Grant's church, but after doing that, after just doing the whole thesis, everybody came up to me and was like, Stephen, you are a great orator. You've done well. I didn't know this happened. I attribute that to the fact that Dr. Grant, as well as Miss Mahan, Miss Dockastle, and everybody else taught me super well. They all poured their time, poured their energy towards me to say, you can be a great orator. Here's how to do it. And also, it was also fun for the seniors to go to the UK and explore the UK and everything else. I have so many stories. I'm a cigar enthusiast. I loved like just getting cigars, getting pipes, and just having that collection. I can't tell you, I was super excited about going to that cigar shop that I actually tripped on the front door, and the guy in the counter. No. The guy in the counter was like, "Sir, are you all right? Are you all right? Are you too excited?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Yes,
the
I'm too
excuse,
excited."
man. Yeah, that's the problem. I'm too excited.
I was just too excited. But I face planted on the floor, and I said, I hope nobody saw that. Everybody just paused and looked at me and was like, "It's okay. We have the cigars here for you, buddy. We have the cigars here. You don't have to rush into it." But it was so much experiences. I also did theater as well. Viewers, I will get some snippets of my time playing Annie Oakley, playing, I believe, Sitting Bull. I was Sitting Bull for one take, and it was honestly just a great time.
You folks know Chief Sitting Bull, the man who brought down General George Custer. Never had the pleasure. How is business?
Tell us for a change, Jolly.
I don't have to tell you anything.
Sitting Bull had many ways to make her talk.
You can't be serious.
Only one I can guarantee. Jolly better do what he says.
I'll never tell.
All right, Chief. Go ahead.
Now, you sure you jumped in court? Only once. To General Custer.
It was a great time. But the teachers, the communities, that's what made the difference for me. Now, Miss Dockastle, if you do see this, I believe it was every Monday night, we would go to her place. She would have she would make us upside down pizzas. She would teach us how to do that. And afterwards, it was always like a study day for Tuesday's exams or whatever. And I'm just sitting there like in the corner, just eating upside down pizzas the whole time. And
Oh,
Miss
you got
Dockastle,
literal upside down pizzas.
oh yeah, upside down pizzas. I'm just sitting there in the corner going like, "Oh, so good, it's so good." And then Miss Dockasole just comes up to me and is like, what did Martin Luther do for his time as in the Reformation?" And me with like stuffed pizzas in my mouth. I was like, can you come back to me? I'm eating right now. I haven't eaten anything. So again, the community and the lasting experience that you get from FCS is what makes all the difference in the world. FCS, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you,
Yeah.
FCS. Thank you, Dr. Grant. He is we've thrown the name around a few times. I don't think we've really explained he's the founder of FCS, and while we were there, the professor of humanities who would give us our lectures twice a week. And that's most what we knew of him, but he's a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, of course. So, viewers, this is it's been enlightening. It's been fantastic. And especially you talking about classical education, the importance of it, especially in the sinful modernity type environment. It has to be said, it has to be looked at for education now. Now, I will say this, FCS is still running. It's smooth. Last time I was there, I think it was last year, and they are just they're hitting it home run. Those kids are phenomenal. They are just fantastic. So, you guys, what is something for the class of 2027? What is a piece of advice that you can give them?
Well, I'm gonna steal Drew's football and run with it a little bit. He was talking
There goes
about,
my football.
yeah, get used to it. You didn't even play. Don't worry about it. Uh, the the thing he was talking about knowing the story, where if you don't know who Frodo is, you don't know what the ring is, you don't know where it's going and why it needs to go there, you're not going to be able to figure out too much about what Frodo should do at any given point. Well, you guys are coming into a very weird world where seeing is not believing. We've always lived in a time where people would tell their sides of the story to benefit their narrative. To kind of paraphrase, I believe it was Solzhenitsyn, he would speak of a battle had taken place, and one side, their propaganda would say 100 lost, we have the victory, and the other side would say 200 lost, we have the victory. And if you go out to the field, you'll see 10,000 corpses and no victors. And that's always kind of been the case, but even to a greater degree now, if you see a video, it's like, yeah, maybe that happened, or maybe it's AI. If you hear a person saying something in their own voice and in their own words, maybe they said that, maybe it's AI. The ability to discern what is true simply by even evidential means is getting more and more difficult to the point of almost being impossible. So the real tool that remains, if you want to not be deceived by the people that want to deceive you for whatever reason and for whatever cause they want to promote, if you know the shape of the story, if you know what God is doing and how he has been doing it for thousands of years, if you know what the plan is, if you know the character of the God who is telling the story, And if you know the shape of the movement of great men and great nations and evil men and evil times, and the clash of ideas that has always characterized the human experience, if you can come to understand the shape of how it has always been, that's going to be your only real way to discern how things are going now. If something seems off because it doesn't fit how things have always been and how things will always be, that's going to give you more of an opportunity to not be co-opted into whichever army wants you. And it's really going to be the only way. And classical education is the best way to obtain that picture of human history and the way that that times and movements have always flowed and always will flow. And if you're able to recognize when you're being lied to, uh, that's only half the battle. You're also going to need to know where the truth is. And in that similar way, understanding that story and understanding that it's God's story that He's been telling and given us a direct message in the Holy Scriptures of what that story is and who the main character is and what that main character wants for you and wants for humanity. It's really your only shot at not being swept away in an increasingly bizarre and tumultuous world.
So
Thank you.
I've got two different pieces of advice. Since my football was stolen, I've got to come up with something somewhat original. The first one for seniors this coming year would be to invest in younger students. Right now, they're sniveling little snot-nosed brats. They're a little less mature than you are. They're a little less cool than you are. But man, in 10 years, as little as 10 years, that age gap is just going to vanish. It's not going to matter. And the only thing you're going to have left are really close relationships. And FCS kind of is a uniquely positioned to equip you to do that. You're placed in a leadership position like with Kings Mountain Camp, and you're in close proximity to folks from 6th grade all the way up through senior year of high school. So just take this utterly unique opportunity and go invest in people who are younger than you. They're all looking up to you. They all think that you are the coolest thing since sliced bread. So just go be the coolest thing since sliced bread with them. You'll both value that for the rest of your lives. The other thing that I would really encourage you to do is memorize scripture. If there is one criticism that I have of FCS, it's that there's not enough focus on scripture memorization. Because when Jesus Christ bled, he bled scripture, right? And the word of God is your defense in this world. It just is. It's the only thing you've got. So when things are coming at you, if you have scripture deep in your heart, that's something that you can just pull out and start flicking off attacks left, right, and center. And they are going to come. So go out. That is one gap in your education that FCS just, I'm sorry, they're batting 100 everywhere else. This is one place where they're not putting sufficient focus for my preference. Go work on it. Pick up some note cards, write down a verse. You know how to memorize stuff. You had to memorize what is it? One that April with the shore assaulted the Druid of March at Peterson to the road. What is that?
Switch.
The name.
General prologue to the Canterbury Tales.
Yes, thank you. General prologue to the Canterbury Tales. you know how to memorize stuff. So go
Mhm.
apply those skills to the Word of God.
And as somebody from class of 2014 can tell you guys, class of 2027, life is messy. This life is just too damn messy at this point. You're in an environment that is super welcoming. It's never going to let you down. It's never going to do any of that. But realize you're going to fail you're going to fail. That's just a part of life. It's always going to be a part of life, but lean on each other. Lean on each other. If you have bad days, talk to one of your classmates. Say, look, I'm just going through a bad time. Can you be there? Can you pray for me? Can you do any of that? That camaraderie is so important. It's so important. But just realize you're going to fail. But you have myself, Drew, and Danny, and so many others. There's so many. I want to say, what, 200 plus alumni from
Oh,
FCS or
more
even
than
more?
that. Yeah. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Well, class of 2027, you have us. Use our knowledge, use our experiences to your advantages, and just keep going. Keep going. We're going to make sure that you're going to succeed. Success is the key here. Success is the key. But viewers, it's just been an amazing time. I will also put this in there. FCS. Uh, Drew, can you show your shirt real
Like close
fast?
enough. You want me to get up close and personal with the camera? There
Well,
we go.
yes. So the viewers, Arc's axiom on our crest, it does mean something. It does mean the fortress of first principle. And it's really the foundation for truths, principles that serves as a basis for further reasoning and arguments. We have the Bible that is supposed to give us that basis. So you can discern, you can argue respectfully. Respectfully. I feel like we lost that in this country. We argue, but we get violent or we just get too emotional and we just lose ourselves in the mess of things. But viewers, take that Bible. Take that Bible. That has so many good stuff. And it's the basis for what truth is. And it's a beautiful truth. I swear it is a beautiful truth. But viewers, today has just been an amazing time. FCS, look into it. Look into it. And especially look into Dr. Grant. Dr. George Grant is the man. Love you, Dr. Grant. So, guys, I thank you so much for being a part of this podcast and just sharing your experiences out there. I thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And it's always fun to talk with another alumnus. And my brother Drew, obviously, just here having a good time talking about the place that forged our friendship. And I just want to echo what you were saying to the upcoming class. Anyone who's watching this, we would love to hear from you. You can reach out. I'm not sure exactly what platforms this is going to be on, but you know, we'll make it available a way to contact us if you've got questions, if you've got your senior thesis coming up and you just need some good advice on sources that might be helpful to your subject, anything like that. I really love FCS and everything it's done for me, and it's always a great joy of mine to be able to give back in any way I can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thanks for having us on, man. It's been a great time just sitting here and talking about FCS. Um, I really cannot enumerate all of the things that it has done for us. Um, yeah, it's really been probably the defining characteristic of my life. Um, so it's been great to sit here and chat and kind of, I'm trying to avoid saying talk about the good old days, but that is what we're doing.
Thinking about it, class of 2027, good Lord. I feel old just saying that right now because class of 2014 and class of 2008.
This is the spring chicken.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Call me
hey,
when you
guys.
have back pain.
Well, guys, it's just been fantastic. And viewers, look into classical education. If we can get this going for every state in the country, I feel like this place would just be a better place.
That
Better
would
place.
change the world.
It will change the
It wouldn't
world.
change the country. It would change the world.
Of course. Of course. Education is very key. And parents, if you see this, take it from us. FCS is the foundation for better life. It is. I can attest to that. But yes, thank you guys so much. We're going to end it off here. Thank you.